This video tutorial will show you how you can add a small or big portrait to a non-standard screen pack for Mugen or IKEMEN, just like this one. Now let's start from beginning. After you load your screen pack, those demo characters may show up very beautifully, very neatly, and you can't wait to add your own character to Mugen. Only after you load your own character to IKEMEN or Mugen, but you find your own character looks quite off compared to the default demo character, just like this one. You see your own character's small portrait and a big portrait are both very off, and in the fighting screen sometimes your portrait is not visible. Now what you can do here is follow the instruction by the screen pack author, because most likely your character is made for the default screen pack, but now you have a different non-standard screen pack. Usually you want to check, is there any readme file there? And here it is. The author told you you need 3 pictures, 9000, 9001 and 9051. And you are supposed to add some other animations to your character's .air file. And let's check this example. And this is another file. So we opened it up. Now we saw these animation definitions. So the author says we are supposed to add this animation to the character. So now I navigate to my character, which is Akiha. I'm going to find the .air file and open it with a text editor. And I will add those animations to the end of the file. So before add, I will use a semicolon and say the following part is for this MBTL Screenpack, not for other purpose. After that, I copy and paste those definitions of animation and save. After that, let's check those 3 required pictures. The author gave us 3 Photoshop template, so we can make those portraits very easily. And this is the 9000. This is for character select screen. Since this is a Photoshop file, so it have multiple layers. Actually, we can disable the layer, and we should put our own character's image into here, then replace it and save it as a PNG file. Since I'm going to add Akiha, and Akiha is also from MBTL, so I come here and download the corresponding Akiha's select screen portrait. I believe it's this picture. After I download Akiha's picture, I load it with Photoshop, and we are adding Akiha, so we only need Akiha's portion. So I will only select Akiha and copy and paste to the template. Now I paste Akiha into this template and disable the layer for Kung Fu Man. And you see the template actually have a frame. So we can put the frame and move Akiha's face inside here, so make sure it's lined up correctly. After that, we can use this black frame as a layer mask for Akiha's layer. So we create a layer mask and we copy this frame to the layer mask. After that, we disable this frame. Then the layer mask black part will become transparent. So we got this perfect select screen portrait. After that, you save this as a PNG file. After that, we check the 9001 big portrait. So the template looks like this. And clearly the portion we need just Kung Fu Man and maybe this shadow. So after I download the picture of Akiha, so I put her into the template and replace this Kung Fu Man. So I paste her here and put her around the same position as Kung Fu Man. So I try to not crop her hair, but I don't think I can put her in the middle of the picture because she's supposed to fit into this menu. Okay, you see the hair may block the text, so we need to put her a little bit to the left. And this is a good position. After that, let me remove some part of her hair so it doesn't look like it's been cropped. Okay. Then let's create a shadow layer. Let's say Ctrl J on the Akiha layer, so to duplicate this layer. And I want to show this shadow layer, so I will use a overlay, color overlay, I think. Yeah, we change to black and change the whole layer's transparency later. So I will move the shadow layer a bit to the left, then change the shadow layer's transparency so it looks like semi-transparent or translucent. Now I change the transparency to less than 50%. After that, you can make the shadow less edgy and feel smooth by selecting the outer part of the shadow. Right-click and choose Feather. Maybe you give 5 or 4 or 3 or 6 feather, then hit the Delete key. After that, your shadow will be a bit smoother. Okay, now we finish the big portrait parts, and let's save this picture as a PNG file and do not put these background. We just need the Akiha and the shadow. Now finally, the battle screen portrait, it looks like this. So again, I'm going to download the MBTL Akiha's battle portrait. And let's put into the Photoshop and copy and paste only the portrait part without the name. And put here to replace Kung Fu Man. And maybe you can remove the hair a little bit. And lastly, you crop the part we only need, which is here. And save the file as PNG. After that, you open the character by using Fighter Factory and go to the sprite part and search 9000. And before you proceed to change or add your own portrait, make sure here the version number, which is the SFF sprites version number, is 2.0.1. If it's not this version, the PNG file won't display correctly. And this also means only Mugen 1.1 or later or IKEMEN Go can use this character, because the SSF version is 2.0.1, which is Mugen 1.1 version. If you found the version number is not correct, just simply click the version number and choose Mugen 1.1. After that, you make sure you are under the sprites tab and search the 9000, 0 in the search box. And this default 9000 is for standard Screenpack. But now we are using a non-standard Screenpack, so our standard is different. So we are going to change this default 9000 to our own 9000, but I don't want to delete it, so I rename this one as 9100, and I will rename the 9001 as 9101, and rename the 9002 as 9102. And of course you can delete it right away, but I want a backup plan so I can roll back to my original setting. After that, we are going to add our custom 9000. So the group ID is 9000 and the index ID is 0. Do not crop the image. And you are going to make sure X and Y axis coordinates are both 0 and 0. So make sure X and Y is 0, 0 for all the 9000 portraits. And let's add the last one, 9051. Do not crop. And make sure the X and Y is all 0, 0, and save. And here is another thing you want to pay attention to, which is the local coordinate. And here, this Akiha is a native 720p character. What does it mean? It means this Akiha, not only her picture is 720p HD, but also her code is also 720p HD. If your character does not have this local coordinate parameter there, or the local coordinate is equal to 320 by 240, that means it's a standard low D character, not HD character. And the Screenpack I'm trying to adapt to is a Screenpack made for native 720p character. But it may not match your case because maybe your Screenpack is for those low D character. Also, there are plenty of Screenpack are made for low D character, but they require them to load HD picture. If you try to load this HD, native HD 720p Akiha into those Screenpack, your big portrait may need to scale up accordingly. And finally, if you are using IKEMEN, and make sure this portrait scale is set to 1 or being commented out with a semi-comma, because this will override the local coordinate, and this value is not available for Mugen character. After that, load up your Mugen or IKEMEN and you will see the results. And you see the fighter portrait is being placed correctly, except this moon gauge, because this is configured separately and it's not in the scope of this tutorial. After this, we are going to add another character which is not match this Screenpack, because this Screenpack is made for HD character, which is native HD, have a local coordinate that is 1280 by 720. I will use Pot's real IKEMEN version in the next demo. And let's take a look at Pot's real's definition file, which is DEF file. So Potts actually is a very great coder, so he added all the necessary or unnecessary portion to it. You see the local coordinate is 320 by 240. Most character will not have this line. If this line is omitted, it also means it's 320 and 240. This line is there or not there means the same. And Mugen character will not have the next line portrait scale, and usually you should set it to 1 or delete or comment it out unless you want to override in IKEMEN, but these parameters have no meaning in Mugen. Now let's add this real low D character into this Screenpack, which is made for HD character. But you may also encounter a Screenpack made for low D character, but you have difficulty to put in HD character. If you never change anything, real will look like this. You see there's no fighter portrait and there's no animation, there's no big portrait in the select screen. Now let's follow the instruction provided by the Screenpack author again to add the 3 portrait picture. And let's pretend we don't know real this classic low D or SD character is not match this HD Screenpack. Let's make the portrait real quick, and I will not emphasize on the Photoshop part. For the fighter screen, and actually here is a little bit tricky. You can use something called the layer mask to mask the reals layer. After you create a layer mask, you choose black color and paint on the layer mask, not the front layer, the mask you want to paint on. If the mask is black, that means it will be transparent. If it's white, that means it will become opaque. So that means if you remove too much, you can paint white back, then you can adjust this transparency in a very flexible way. After that, we open Real in Fighter Factory and try to change the sprite tab. The sprite version need to be 2.0.1. If you don't, as this example, the image will not display correctly. So let's change the version first. Make sure it's Mugen 1.1. Then start to add or remove the old 9000, 9001, and 9002. Add a new one, 9000, and make sure the coordinate is 0, 0. And let's check the result. And the result is no good. You see the select portrait is too big. The big portrait is off the place and also too big. And this is what I mean. There is a mismatch for this Screenpack, which is made for HD character, but we put a low-D character there, so it cannot be displayed correctly. And this HD character, I mean, they are having a local coordinate that is not a standard definition, which is 320 by 240. This Akiha is having a 720p coordinate, and this Real only have a 240p. So in order to Real's portrait to scale properly here, Real's image need to be compensated to be scaled down. If you try to do a simple calculation, so the Screenpack is made for 1280 by 720, so we only care about the x-axis. So we try to use 1280 divide 320, and their difference is 4 times. So we are going to scale down Real's portrait 4 times. In other words, so the image only can be 25% big compared to original size. So we are going to scale this image to its 25%. And we are saving this 25% smaller one as a new file name. So I didn't want to crash the original file. But it will be very blurry. But if you are dealing with a Screenpack that is made for low-D character and you are putting a low-D character, you will have no trouble. But if you are putting a high resolution, native high resolution, or local coordinate high resolution character, you will have the same trouble. But instead of scaling down, you are going to scale up, so to compensate. After you scale down all the image 4 times and put in the small version, let's check the result. At least the small portrait is at its correct place, but maybe not the big portrait. But you see, some part is working. I'm not 100% sure why the big portrait is not in the correct place, but this is out of the scope of this tutorial. And you see it works, despite the image quality is so poor. But this way, to scale up or scale down the image actually work for both IKEMEN and the Mugen. Lastly, I want to introduce one feature or one parameter for IKEMEN user, which is this portrait scale in the character DEF file. So by changing this portrait scale, you can separate local coordinate and the portrait, which enable this low D real to use HD portrait. Remove the semicolon or add this line and set this portrait scale to another number. And we know the difference between low D and HD is 4 times. So to try and error, let's set this number to 4 first. Let's quickly check the result, and our low D portrait becomes so big and blur, and the character also becomes so big. That means it's not set to 4. Maybe we should set to 25%, which is 0.25. Then let's change the value to 0.25 and try again. And now see it's correct. The fighting portrait becomes so small and sharp. After we change the low D portrait to HD portrait, it should be at the correct size. And let's quickly replace all the low D portrait to HD portrait. And let's check the result. Maybe it's not perfect, but it works.